Okay, I guess we're live. So, today I want to talk about tax deferred compounding. And it's a method where you defer booking your profits to save on tax, and that deferred tax compounds. And we just want to do some math behind how much can that deferred tax compound to. And this is not, I'm not pulling it out of thin air. This is a method which Warren Buffett has been using. As we know that his favorite period of holding is forever. But I just want to work out some math that if you're planning to, if your investment horizon is 20 years, you want to be 20 years, uh, what what would happen to your gains if you book profit every year versus if you defer booking profit and hence defer paying taxes. So, whether it was tax deferred compounding, I think we all realize that it will be good to not pay taxes, but how much good will it be? I just wanted to walk you guys through some math. So let me. Like I said, this is known as tax deferred compounding. So let's assume there are a couple of investors. There is investor A and investor B, and they both start with an initial investment of $1 each. Investor A compounds it at the rate of 20 years. Both of them compound it for 20 years, or at the rate of 20% for 20 years. And the tax regime is such that you have to pay a tax of 30%. It's a fair assumption to say that, there will be no government who will tax unrealized gains. So they will always be taxed once you book the profit. And of course, your post-tax profit will be lower. The assumption is that every time investor A is someone who's, let's add a new column here, which I will call investing style. Investing style is book profits every year and reinvest. Okay. So what investor A does is that every year he books some profit and then he reinvests it. Okay. Um, so he books profit every year and reinvests it into another stock. Okay. He books it from 20% from one stock at the end of the year, pays tax on it. After tax money, he puts it into another stock. Okay. Uh, and the investor B, he just picks one stock and leaves it alone. He never books profit. Okay. I'm not claiming that that's a good investment strategy, but I just wanted to compare the differences that would make. Assuming you can pick one stock which compounds at 20% for 20 years, uh, and of course you don't pay taxes on it because you don't book profit, what is the extra gain that you will get? Um, just some math worth doing, I think. So, okay, investor one starts with $1. What is his profit at the end of first year? Is 20% of that, and he ends up paying a tax on it. Right? Is one minus the tax rate. So he earns 20 cents, 20% of $1, but he pays 60% tax. So he's left with 14 cents extra. The next year, he will invest 1.14. And because we're starting at a base of $1, we can assume that it will effectively lead to a 14% compounding rate. So what will happen at the end of 20 years is he will be earning at 1.14 raised to the number of years, right? So he will end up with $13.74. Not bad. 13 times your money is not bad at all. On the 20% compounding is also uh, extremely fabulous. All right. What happens with investor B? Investor B, what he does is that, he makes a 1.2 every year. Easy math there, right? He makes uh, this is the network. You understand? This is gain. So yeah. So for investor B, he makes $1.2 every year, and he doesn't book profit. So no tax to be paid. He will compound it for this. He here plus 8 percentage value. We don't need that. Work. Let's just say it's 1.2 because we know it's 1.2. Why say the percentage now? Sorry, about that. So he will be at compounding at the rate of 20%, right? So he will end up with 38.33. But of course, the day he books profit at the end of 20 years, he will be liable to pay a tax at 30%. So what will that leave him with? Um, he will pay a tax on $37.33 because $1 was his initial investment. So how much will his tax liability be? 37.33 times 7.3. This is his tax liability. And what he ends up with then is his net minus his tax paying. He ends up with 27.13. I hope you followed the math. I made a bit of a mess there, but yeah, you basically compounding at 20% every year, not paying taxes. So you're ending up with 38.33, and then you pay one big bang of a tax, 11.2, while he was just paying 0.06 every year. But yeah, at the end of 20 years, you pay a big tax. But look at what you've done to your net worth. You more than doubled it. You have earned approximately 97% more by deferring that tax liability. And how another way to think about is that basically by deferring your tax liability, you are taking a loan off of the government. You are deferring paying back that loan, rather using that money and getting the returns on that extra money as well, right? And here I've used an extreme example of 20%, which is probably not very logical for most of us, but let's say it was 10%. Okay, it was 10% for both of these guys. He would be his after tax gains every year would be zero point zero 0.07. So he will compound at 0.07. So 1.07 is 20. That's how you right? So he will end with 3.86, much less than 13.7. But then we assume not 20% and 9% now, right? What about this other guy? He will end up with 1.1 every year instead of 1. So he will end up with 6.7. And how much tax will he end up paying? He will pay tax on the extra um, profit that he's made over and above his $1 initial investment. He will pay a tax on 5.72, pay a tax of 1.7, end up with 5, around 30% more in that case as well, right? So even if you invest only, if even if your compounding rate is only 10%, shouldn't say only, but that's what I'll assume Nifty gives, including dividends and all that. But yeah, you will get a 30% extra in this. So what you get up extra in this case is 97% in case of 10% investing, you get 30%. So assuming your annual rate of compounding falls anywhere between 10% to 20%, you're not an active investor. If you're an active investor, we'll go into the math for that as well. Assuming um, he's an active investor, what is the rate at which he needs to compound to get 5.015, match a passive investor who's not booking profits? Okay, uh, that we can do the math in the reverse order. So 5.01 raised to the power of 1 divided by 8.3, right? What does that correspond to pre-tax? So it's basically 8.3 is should be what should be left after his tax liabilities are paid, right? So this is his annual profit after tax. What is this pre-tax? So he, if a passive investor has 10% compounding rate, this is important. Passive investor has 10% compounding rate. This active investor, which is basically at A, an active investor who's earning, uh, if he wants to match the returns of this passive investor, uh, but he wants to book profits every year, he has to earn around 11.9%, right? Which is like almost 12%. So he has to earn, this is an important thing, he has to earn 2% extra every year. Okay. This is, again, for the case of 20% returns. The higher passive investors' returns are, to beat those returns, someone who's booking profits continuously and paying taxes on them, the bigger the alpha should be. A 2% extra every year is not very easy. I mean, it's still doable, but if this 2% gets to 4-5% as it could in the case of 20%, uh, it becomes big, and that's why your tax deferred compounding works. I hope you understood the math behind it, how you can get the extra oomph in your net worth at the end of 20 years by not booking profits. And if you are booking profits, you can also calculate how much extra, you know, over the compounding rate, the passive compounding rate you will need uh, to match uh, what you're paying out in the compounding. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Thank you. Bye.